Really, it came from once I started helping people as a realtor, I started to classify their decisions into one of those 8 areas. Like, this is a career finance move. Someone got a big promotion. They can no longer live in Austin, Texas. They have to move to Seattle. That's where headquarters is. And they got a big raise. So boom, they're going to get a new house in a different city. So that's those 2 spokes. Sometimes it's like health and family, getting older, need to move closer to family, need a primary on the main. That's the primary reason. But then don't ignore those other areas, because that's why people are unhappy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. As always, I'm joined by Garrett Fry, my good friend. I'm Matt Pinelli, and we have an incredible guest with us today, Kim Costa, who is a top 5% realtor in Atlanta, who happened to write a book. And it is a book directed towards consumers, which is so cool. I'm really excited to talk about it. But Kim has lived an incredible life. You've lived like an awesome life. There's tons of stuff in the background that we want to kind of talk about as well a little bit. And you're with Atlanta Fine Homes, Sotheby's in Atlanta. So if anybody has any referrals over to Atlanta, you can always reach out to Kim. But Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. And Garrett, good to see you, my friend, as well.
Good morning. Good morning. And Kim, really fun to have you on the show. We had a chance to meet in Texas here face to face not that long ago when we were down there speaking with Dennis Tuttle's company. And again, really fun to have you on, and fun to kick around some ideas with you today, because I love what you're up to. You know, we were talking about helping the consumer out. And I think that, a lot of our world right now, realtors are doing a great job, I think, but there's also having somebody who's, coming at it from the outside and saying, no, let's help the consumer out here and let's see how we can help them be the best. I think is very needed in our industry. And I think it brings the best out of what our industry can be. So I'm really excited to talk to you today, learn about your frameworks that you use and your book you've written, and have some fun here.
Great. I'm all for it.
This would be great. Well, let's dive into it a little bit. I mean, Kim, give us a little bit of background so people kind of know who you are, a little bit of a history, and some of those colorful moments, because you even talk about in your book, like you've had some pretty defining moments in your life. Like, some people have like one big thing that happens to them. They're like, this is something that shapes me. You've had several.
Yeah. And I kind of look at them as God winks. Sometimes you get the winks that are really good, and then sometimes you get the whispers of what's not in alignment. And if you don't listen to the whispers, you get a big old shout. And so that's happened a couple of times. So it made me pay attention and like, okay, what is to become of this? I'm listening now. So you don't need to shout anymore. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say was one of the biggest moments? Maybe it was the shout.
Yeah.
That had you going, gosh, I am not in alignment. Garrett and I talk a lot about alignment. We love that topic because I think we're all in pursuit of it all the time. Mm-hmm. And you have obviously been challenged with it at some point. I say, obviously, if you go read the book, which we're going to share all about that too. What was one of the ones that you were just like, I am out of alignment, and this is the moment that I need to like really start to get it together?
So this particular story is in the book, and it's when I lived in a gorgeous home called Clarity Farm, beautiful here in like North Alpharetta, Milton area. Horse farms, that's what everybody does. You get a horse farm, and it's the thing to do. I'm a golfer, however, and I ignored that and went ahead and got the horse farm and had a bunch of horses and acreage and built a custom home from scratch. Loved it. And, but I was trying to learn to ride horses, did the Fox Hunt Club and the polo thing with my former spouse and all that stuff. But I was trying to train a new horse and I got thrown off and broke my back really badly. And so they came and got me in an ambulance, and I stayed in the hospital. They operated, and turns out I shattered my L2, just completely shattered it, crushed all the nerves to my legs. And so, but obviously I healed. But before I did heal, the doctor, the neurosurgeon at the time, I was getting ready to be released, and she came in and she put her hand on my legs that were still numb. And I was kind of shuffling in a walker at that time. They said I can go home. And she said, I don't know what is going on, but or why you're going to be able to walk again, but you must have an angel on your shoulder. So I was like, must I have? So what does that mean? Like, what am I supposed to do? If I haven't, what purpose have I not fulfilled that I'm now still able to walk? What am I going to do with that? So that planted the seed in my head. So I went home to recover, and I said, well, what am I doing that I am supposed to be? What am I not doing that I'm supposed to be doing? I used to love to write, and I would get accolades for my writing. So I was at home. I couldn't drive, stuck in a walker. People were bringing my kids to school, feeding my family for me. Lovely. And I started to write. And so I wrote an essay for the Oprah Winfrey Show at the time, 2001. And it was an essay for the Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood. So it was all about how have your friends helped you? Perfect. They're carting my kids around and feeding my family and praying for me. And I'm healed. Or healing. I was still in a lot of pain. So I sent it in. About a month later, I hear back. It goes off into the ethers, never see the essay again. And I get a call from the Oprah Show, and they say, you won. We want to. And then I was like, oh, cool. Awesome. I'll gather my friends. It's about friendship. We're going to Chicago. So then they call back about a week later, and they say, we want to come film at your house. You're like the key thing. And I was like, oh my God. I said, no, you can't come. I was like, absolutely not. And I mean, she was my hero. I watched her religiously. I would tape her back however we taped things in 2001. And I'd get home from picking the kids up at school, and I'd put it on and watch the show. Well, I told her no. And I couldn't get the house ready. I was totally out of alignment in that home, struggling to walk again. I was like, I can't even get myself ready, let alone a 40-acre farm. So I was like, I do not need millions of people in my home seeing how misaligned and unorganized I am at the moment, and in pain that I am at the moment. So I said no. And so we didn't end up going up there in May with all my friends, but I never told them we were supposed to be in the first row, not the second row. And the focus of the expose, the whole documentary, we were in a montage at the end of our kids and our pictures and everything. But I never told them this whole time that we were supposed to be the star of the show.
My goodness. Well, you made the comment going into this that you're a golfer.
Yeah.
But you kind of took this role of the acreage and the having the horses and going down that route. It's interesting. Matt and I just finished reading a book, The Courage of Being Disliked, and how much sometimes we will follow other people's paths, other people's expectations, other people's worlds to feel normal, to fit in with the environment.
Yeah.
Is that what you kind of had going on with you that made you say, yeah?
Totally. It was kind of a sought after thing to have a beautiful horse farm. And it was and still is beautiful. In the book, there is something that happens to that home that is unexpected. And that is the end of the story. The first 4 chapters is surprising and was the final part of why I decided to become a realtor. So it was like 15 years later that something interesting happened. But that I was totally out of alignment. I was a golfer riding horses. I was a creative person working in accounting.
That's polo. They call that polo.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I was like, I should be
together.
hitting a ball or something, but I didn't even know how to ride. So I'm very adventurous. So and as I was falling, I was like, I'll be okay. I'm tough. No, not so much. So be careful what you choose to do. And so I was a golfer riding horses, or trying to. I was a creative person doing accounting. And I was an extrovert living on a remote farm. So for those 3 reasons, my health was suffering physically and mentally, as far as being isolated when I really like people a lot. So that was the beginning of I'm not living correctly.
And so then this led you to become a realtor.
Yeah.
Which is
2017.
Which it's always fun. I love hearing people's stories of what got them into real estate, because there's a lot of different reasons, right? Some I had a bad experience with a realtor. And I don't want other people to have that, or I wanted to have the lifestyle that I wanted to have. Or someone was like, I don't know, somebody told me I'd be good at it. Right. So share a little bit about that transition to it and how that also, cause like that seemed like kind of the beginning of where you started to really dig into, understanding who you were, understanding how other people operate, which then ultimately led to writing your book, Live in Your Wheelhouse.
Yeah. So, so continued on with that controller position because I was running a family residential construction company in the background, right? So I was doing all the numbers and the HR and the 401ks and the payroll and all that stuff, which I should not have been doing. I didn't mess it up, but it was
not a creative doing
no fun at all.
The numbers and
not
accounting.
The extrovert job. It's the extrovert going, how did I get here? Wait.
Nothing will go wrong at all.
Every day. I had a headache on the left side of my left brain was not supposed to be working that hard. So I had a headache like every time I was doing that stuff. But anyway, so like around 2016, I'm going to go ahead because I really like you guys and tell you the kind of little bit of the ending of the story with Clarity Farm. Someone bought it and they were going to tear it down. So I got a phone call, a multi-million-dollar home. And it turned out fine. I bless the people who did that because they raised a lot of money for a charity doing a showcase home. And it was also a testament to how beautiful the property was that I found myself and developed. And so that was like, okay, so the house is going to be torn down. Cool. I'm going to go and I'm finally going to become a realtor. My kids don't need my insurance anymore. I'm going to go ahead and make the break and become an entrepreneur in a different industry or same industry, different role. And so I sponsored the Clarity Farm Showcase and launched my realtor career, the new Clarity Farm. And so I was like, okay, this is perfect. And there's a couple fun stories there about that. But so then as I was moving from being the corporate controller to the realtor, I took a personality test and turns out I'm an ENFP, which is extroverted, intuitive, feeling and perceptive, very empathetic and intuitive people person. And so accounting, no, not supposed to be. I was going to say. Wrong.
Yeah. Spreadsheets don't match
don't match at all. So
obviously, keep going.
Well, I hired a coach and he started working with the Wheel of Life with me to see what was out of alignment. And so that's how the whole wheelhouse thing started.
So obviously, all of a sudden you find yourself in this world of real estate, leaning into real estate. Just as you said, 2017 was when you kind of bridged that gap. Finding yourself in a place that more aligned with who you are as this person that really works well with people, can understand where people are coming from, takes the time to learn about the people that are around them. How did that feel, finding yourself in a career that all of a sudden you're like, this makes sense? Like this, this fits for me.
I came out of my shell. I was trying to live as an introvert and I'm not introverted. I'm a little introverted, but not as much as I was living. And so I started to thrive. I tripled my income almost immediately.
I think a lot of people think you're either an extrovert or you're an introvert.
Yeah.
And a lot of true extroverts, they go introverted. I'm a what people look at as an extrovert, but truly, like, when I am like needing to recover, I'm about as introverted as you can possibly get. Right. I love just being in my backyard by myself, or being away from people. So I think it's an interesting thing that we think you're always one way, but
you're
we have these both sides to us.
I agree. So I think they describe ENFPs as the most introverted extroverts. So I'm like 55% extroverted. But the other time, so when I was an accountant and I didn't see people, all I wanted to do was go out after work and like see people. Now that I'm a realtor, all I want to do at night is like read something or watch a cool movie or have a quiet dinner, because I've like, it's the balance that I need to have in my home, depending on what I've done all day.
That is interesting how that can make that shift. And I think, you know, for anybody listening, like understanding, I mean, you could take a test to figure out your personality, or you could just be aware too. Cause it sounds like you knew this about yourself. And then you mentioned hiring a coach, and I want to kind of just kind of pull off into that lane for a second too. How did that help you with your growth too? Because I think a lot of times we're like, oh, I got to go figure all this out on my own. Right. And, not only did you go through this terrible injury, eventually you also went through a divorce and now you have this coach, and it's like, you actually did seek out like, hey, I don't have to do this on my own. I can have some guidance to help me get to where I want to go.
Well, it was totally validating because I knew I was an ENFP. I started listening to a podcast about ENFPs, and this fella, Dan Johnston, he's over in Prague. He talks to ENFPs around the world. So I started listening, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to make this big career change. I should probably validate that my skills and my personality and aptitudes are in line before I make this big jump. Because, you need a big runway to become a realtor, and you have to have some savings to get started. And so I realized that. So he validated that and helped me make a plan to switch. And then the funnest part of the whole thing is he ran these retreats. And so I met up with a bunch of other ENFPs in Spain for a writing retreat because I was writing again. And that's when the idea for the book came.
That's cool.
Yeah, Ron to
I didn't even
Spain.
know that existed.
Magical.
I didn't even know you could just take your personality type and do a retreat with just so
super cool.
How did that work?
And ENFPs are fun.
Interesting? Were you all the same people?
Yeah. Well, so there was an INFP there. She was quieter, but also a writer.
Were you all like, what are you doing here?
No, we love her. We loved her.
Totally
we loved her.
Totally
we did have to pull things out of her a little bit, but we kind of knew that going in, that she was going to be a little quieter. So we were like, you have to talk now.
So here's what's interesting is, Matt, you said you don't have to take a test, but it's really, I used to not be big into taking a lot of those types of tests and figuring things out. And there's a lot of people that go, well, okay, I get it. But there's a lot, if you just take a step back, you don't get too plugged into it, but there's a lot of times you can be like, oh, that's why I do that. That's why I crave that. That's why I need that. That's why I push away from that. And that makes sense now. I'm not broken. It's just not the way I work. And when you can understand that and lean into it, or put yourself around a whole bunch of other people that their brains kind of work in the same way, there's magical stuff that will happen.
Big time. Yeah.
So good for you for taking that step and that hurdle. That's huge.
It was super fun and great stories. So ENFPs are the same as the Mark Twains, the Robin Williams. They're always telling a story. So once I realized that I had that potential, I kind of led into it. And here's another really interesting thing is, you don't have to, as a realtor, because I'm a personality enthusiast. I have a master's work in human resource development. So that's always, and my parents were human resource executives. So it's baked into my being. That's this kind of talk. When I'm working with people as a realtor, I'm like, I think they're an INTJ, or at minimum on the DISC profile, are they D, I, S, or C, or perfection, party, power.
Yep.
What's the other one?
However you want to frame it.
I'm like, what is the, because peace are quiet.
Yeah.
Peace people are quiet. I have a perfection client right now, and I know that we're going to go through the inspection report in detail. He needs to feel safe in his home, and he wants all the details. We're going to go over a financial plan, and we're going to do the comps, and I need to get out my accounting skills for that. So knowing people's personality on some sort of level, or at least their values, what they value, is helpful as a realtor to make the other people feel at ease.
It helps you communicate, right? Yeah. And communication is so important, because if you want to then help someone else find alignment, or even help yourself find alignment, I find with even just personality tests, they're useful in that, okay, if we have the self-awareness, sometimes we get trapped in oh, that's just who I am, and I'm the only person that's like this. Whereas a personality test, there must be other people who are like this too. And then you found a group that's doing writing retreats, which is amazing. So this brings up the idea for the book, and you have this process, this wheelhouse method, which the book is called Live in Your Wheelhouse. When does it get released?
March 24th.
March 24th.
Yeah, it just hit Amazon, so we can pre-order.
Oh, you can pre-order it. Fantastic. So if you're listening to this, pre-order the book. because all those pre-orders go into that day one sale, which is all used for those cues for those Amazon bestsellers. And we really wanted to make Kim's book an Amazon bestseller. So pre-order it now. You don't have to wait until March 24th.
And you get some freebies.
Well, you have to wait to get it, I guess.
You have to wait to physically get it, but you get 3 chapters early, a master class, and I'm going to do a Facebook launch group. So you get all that free if you pre-order.
So
I love it.
So what we're leading at, I mean, obviously this book is going to be out here soon, going to be able to get in people's hands. When you look at because you talk about the wheelhouse method and what made you stop and say, I have an idea, a way that we can help formulate, evaluating where people are at, what they need, where they need to go, so I can help them make better decisions. Where did this come from for you?
Really, it came from once I started helping people as a realtor, I started to classify their decisions into one of those 8 areas. Like, this is a career finance move. Someone got a big promotion. They can no longer live in Austin, Texas. They have to move to Seattle. That's where headquarters is. And they got a big raise. So boom, they're going to get a new house in a different city. So that's those 2 spokes. Sometimes it's like health and family, getting older, need to move closer to family, need a primary on the main. That's the primary reason. But then don't ignore those other areas, because that's why people are unhappy. You make a move because of finance and career, but you forget about, let's use a horrible example, like the school district's really bad where you move. So now friends and family is off. So you need to consider all the areas. And so because I was using the Wheel of Life for myself, I started implementing those thoughts. Well, as other people were talking, I would just listen and find out their pain points to what they were trying to solve and what the ideal situation would look like. And then, so we're trying to move up from a 2 in career, or 0, because you can't live in Austin, Texas and have a job in Seattle. That's a 0 on location and career. You're going to lose your job. So let's get that up to like a 8 at least somehow.
I like that. So for people who are thinking visually about this, if you take a life wheel, which we love life wheels, which is a circle with different pie slices based on certain segments. And so you said you're using 8 segments for this. What are all 8 of those segments?
Okay. So they're health, finance, spirituality, family and friends, entertainment, like what do you like to do for fun, romance, career, and environment. So environment can be not only in your home, you have like sunlight, or is it open or closed, but also your community.
I like that. I like that. So now when you're applying this to home buyers and sellers, right? Because if anybody's making a move, all of this stuff's on the table. How are you now deploying this method with them? Are you just doing kind of the work in your head, like as you said early on, you're just trying to figure it out, or do you actually have them engage in this? I
was just doing it on my own for years. Just like, let me ask them this question, or, oh, I hear them talking about this. Let me just pick up on it. And I would kind of like write notes, either mental notes or as we're walking around, you know how you write notes about the house. I would keep notes. And so I started to develop all these questions that would fall into certain categories. And now they're in the book because they don't apply to everybody. So I just accumulated situations and scenarios and how we fixed certain things. And so it just progressed. And then about 2 years ago, I thought, I need a way to categorize these questions and pain points into more serious and less serious. So I applied Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Y'all familiar with that? We all learned that along the way, didn't we? So it's from physiological. If you have a physiological need that's not being met, for example, like sleep, water, and food and shelter, like those are serious needs, right? But you can relate this to, I'm not sleeping because the traffic noise and the sirens are keeping me up. That is a very serious physiological need. That's affecting the rest of your life in bad ways. But that's a lesser need than I'm entertaining in my kitchen and I hate the paint color. I hate it. It doesn't look good on me. I need to change it. That's a higher level entertainment need versus a much more serious physiological need for your health. So one, you're moving, the other, you're remodeled, you're putting some new paint up.
And I think it's
Yeah.
interesting as you start to listen to what you're saying here is like, I think it makes sense of where we watch people that like, there are non-negotiable. We are moving. We're done. I'm burnt out. I'm fried. I can't handle this situation anymore. To nagging things that are there, they bother me, but it's not enough to maybe make a move. And I think as I watch a lot of realtors that I've coached over the years that start looking at life changes that people are dealing with and try to go, okay, they're experiencing this life change, but I don't think it's going to make them move. And I think what you're bringing to the table is a piece of saying, yes, but let's interpret how that life change is now infecting their environment, infecting who they are. Because then that thing that you might be going, I don't know if it's going to make them move. All of a sudden, it's like they're moving. Like, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
Like,
let's start the conversation now, because maybe there's a tweak in the home because of life change that you can make that then 2 years down the road you might be moving. But let's talk about your life situation now. Let's be as happy as we can in that home and enjoy it for the next 2 years. And whatever changes you're going to make, how is it going to affect the future value of the home? So it's a win-win. You get to enjoy the changes for the 2 years and make a little money if you do some sort of renovation, possibly. When you do decide, and now you're not just a transactional realtor, you are a trusted advisor for their life. And that's a huge difference.
Yeah. I mean, how often do we see people like they're doing all this work for their home when they're getting it ready to sell and they're like, man, I should have done this.
Could have enjoyed this for
a long
2
time ago.
years.
You know, and sometimes it's small things and having that. So, with how you've outlined the book, we're not going to give all this stuff away here, but with this wheelhouse method, what do you hope that consumers are going to pull out of this? Because this is designed for the real estate consumer. Agents can use this too.
I think
super helpful in understanding this stuff, obviously.
tremendously.
But you've laid it out in a way to be consumer friendly. And so what are you hoping that consumers pull out of it, that they learn, so that when it comes time for them to make a move, they can kind of bring with them all this information to their realtor?
Well, 2 things. You can use it every time there's a life change. I mean, I used to do the Wheel of Life at least once a year, maybe once a quarter when I was really going through life change, like what's different. So that's like, just, you can use it more than once, keep it on hand. And then 2, that, doing a little deeper dive, like it doesn't have to be painful. And this is a private book that you can read, like I won't say half, some of the questions in there, I would never dream of asking somebody in person. This is for their personal knowledge to do a deep dive. Like, how is that relationship? What needs to change? Do we need some separate space in the house? Do we need more together time?
That'd be great on like a buyer interview. So,
I
how
know,
are you
like,
guys
very
doing?
invasive
Should we get
question.
his and hers space so that you guys
Let's
aren't
talk about your
near each
marriage.
other?
I mean, no, we can't. We don't do this, but we feel it. I mean, I'm an intuitive person.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You feel
you
it. You
say-
want to ask the question, but there it is in the book.
you say marriage, but those relationships is anybody that's living in that house or potentially could
or
live
who
in that house.
visits.
So I look at kids, I look at, in-laws, I look at, all these things of potentials of like in the next year, what could change with people who are living or not living in a household. These are all really important things that most people don't address until all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, my mother-in-law is living down the hall or below our bedroom. Like, how does that affect our world that we're currently in right now? Is this still an okay environment? These are things that I think you can get ahead of if you just have a plan.
Have a plan. That's the biggest part, is making a plan, before you move or in anticipation of moving, or if you have to move, let's try to find the best ideal environment for you. Nothing's perfect ever, but let's try to maximize, because whatever life event you're going through, maybe you've chosen it. Maybe it's been forced upon you, a death of a spouse, divorce, a career change, retirement, empty nesting, having babies, all the things. It's already stressful, and moving is another of the top 3 stressors. Let's try to have some kind of action plan and clarity around that so that it relieves your stress a little bit.
If we're going to do this, let's make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up before we were talking about the amount of regrets that people have of the homes that they've bought over the last handful of years. And a lot of them were very high stress situations that people were buying in. It was very much a knee-jerk reaction of, I need a solution to a problem I have right now. And I will throw money at it. I will figure it out. I want that house. And then you got FOMO, where people are fighting over that one home.
Yes.
And a lot of people ended up in houses that they're like, this is not the right home for me. And I think people are going to be taking it a lot more serious moving forward here, is if they're going to make that move, let's make sure that that home really is the correct house for us, because they've got some scar tissue from a couple of years back here.
They do.
I think it's great.
Yeah. And so, what is it? I think it's 12% of everyone who moved in 2023 and 24 doesn't even like their home. That's 3 million people a year of those 2 years.
It's amazing.
That's crazy, right? You think about that. And then the stat on like COVID moves on people who are disappointed with the move or whatever is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think, and people point it to those high pressure things. I think it's more that people are not thinking about how this home fits into their life before. Because I bet if we went back even before that and asked those surveys questions, and I know even the post-COVID survey question that was done was kind of like worded in a way of like, do you like everything about your home? And people are like, no. And they're like, look at all these people who have regret.
Miserable people.
Yeah, but I think it highlights that, so when we go into the home buying process, we don't consider the life move, right? The money side gets pushed way to the front. It's like, well, what can we afford? Yes, we still think of like, what do we want? And we think of the big things like, I want the backyard, I want the garage. And those things certainly can make us happy. But I've even seen people renovate their homes to be perfect. And then they're like, yeah, but this thing is just never right.
It's never going to be perfect.
Here. And so what are some of the, like, would you say are like the detail components of this wheelhouse method that can help people maybe avoid some of that regret, but also bring awareness to it's not going to be perfect?
Right. Well, I think just the questions in general. And so each chapter is in the middle, part 4. If people are in a hurry, they just go right to part 4. If you have 4 days before you're looking with your realtor, take these results with you, and you and your partner, whoever's involved in the decision, read it. But the takeaway is you go through each of the sections and you think, oh, I never thought about, mom may have to move in with us. So maybe we do need a home with a guest on the main and with a full bathroom that you don't have to walk through the family room in a towel. We don't want that for mom eventually, if that happens. So you're kind of planning ahead a little bit. And you may not have thought of that unless you read through, the page or two of questions going through the scenarios that may or may not apply to you. You may just skip right, like that's never going to be an issue. You go to the next one and the next one, and then you write notes on the additional page to the pie chart beforehand. So I think the book, thinking for at least 5 years on the questions and assimilating my personal experiences with clients and then my other realtor friends and reading about like just lifestyle circumstances, like, oh, I hadn't thought of that one. Put that in. And so I think it just runs the gamut to help people consider not only their living situation now, but what it could look like in 5 years.
Yeah, I think the 5 years.
Most people aren't.
Our first house we bought, we were like, this can only be a 5-year house because it's not going to be big enough for.
People make that decision. It's fine.
Yeah.
I put 2 or 3 people. They said, this is our temporary home. We're downsizing. We're going to go live in the city and have a little fun. Get our fill because now we don't have kids around, and then we're going to move to a ranch somewhere.
So I think most people aren't looking far enough down the road. Most of us are trying to solve for right now. We're trying to solve for a pain moment that we're dealing with, and how can we solve for that? And all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're here, we've solved for it, but for how long? So I love having this structure. And so as going back to what you were saying, part 4 in the book, and this is something that I know here we're talking to a lot of real estate agents out here, that's a lot of our audience, but this is an opportunity for the real estate agent to be able to help their clients, maybe a tool they can give to them of saying, hey, this is something you can do, but also any general consumers that are listening out here saying, hey, this is something you can do regularly to make sure that this home is in alignment for you. Not right now, because I've been in this home for 14 years. And I'm actually sitting here going like, I want to do this. I'm really curious because we're either going to make this home work for us, or there's going to be a change here coming up as kids have moved out and I've got other things moving around. I think for a general consumer to be able to regularly kind of come back and revisit this and go, oh, this still is in alignment or it's not, because as we started this whole thing out here, when you're out of alignment, when you are not in the right environment, you can't be the best that you could potentially be. And I think that's what, I mean, I love that that's kind of what brought you to even go down this route at all.
Yeah. I mean, your home should support you, the real you. Right. And so sometimes we live in homes that are from a stage of life that was 10 years ago, and we're still kind of stuck. So it in a way, it can prevent you from moving on to another good part of your life. I'm just about to turn 60. My mom's 89 and very healthy, praise God. And I want to do something really good the rest of my life. Like the next 30 years, my mission is to work these frameworks and help people, not waste time living an inauthentic life. And, to be a good realtor, to dig into like, what are you not happy about? What's wrong? And like, there's more life for you to live. Yes, your kids are gone. Empty nesting, but there's what did you used to like to do? What is not being fulfilled right now? So let's figure out how to get you to do that.
So I want to go back to something here real quick that kind of like, because we talked about living the horse life when you were a golfer. I'm thinking an interesting thing that's going to come out of people also being able to look at this for their home environment is they're going to learn that maybe they have their home for maybe the wrong reasons, which is why this home is not serving them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people buy the big house on the street because of status and things like this. And it's like, but at the end of the day, they're so stressed financially that they never get to enjoy the house because God forbid something happens to it. God forbid they need to paint it. God forbid something,
a new roof.
They need to upgrade, but they can't afford it anymore. Like, I think this is an interesting thing and I think you said it as living aligned versus living impressed. I think is that
inauthentically, right? Or just doing what other people are doing or what looks good on paper or Instagram. It's not necessarily going to make you happy. Part of this thing is sometimes it's not about the house. It's about aligning with how you should be living.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, it's, you talk a lot about health too in there, which for me is like a big alignment topic for me. But Garrett, this even reminds me of the book where we talked about, living for approval versus living for contribution. And when it comes to people looking at their homes, like, are you living aligned where like your home helps you serve your mission? And whatever that is, or does it actually trap you and keep you confined? And I know that we can't choose everything. Sometimes our location is kind of predetermined for whatever reason, but that's also a choice. Like, hey, well, I want to be close to family, so I'm going to be here. That's more important than me living on a beach or something, perhaps. And that's fine. But focusing on how does this home help me contribute to my mission, which can be served anywhere, I think is, and when you said that, living aligned versus living impressed, it's like, does anybody really care?
Yeah.
Right? Like, people don't really care about that anyway. Now, if you have it, fantastic, great. Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You're at the top of Maslow's
hierarchy. I mean, good for you. Let's keep that.
That life wheel is filling up in all categories.
You're running on not a flat tire, a full wheel.
Yeah, which would be really, really cool. So like, what would be your advice then to a realtor who's currently working with a new buyer, or currently working with a buyer who's confused? Yeah. Like, what are some of the maybe one or two questions that they can use to ask their buyer to help them get that clarity of alignment so that they can move forward too? Because we find that buyers who aren't buying are not because they don't want to, they're just confused or they're misaligned.
They're not clear. It goes back to when I graduated college. I took the Xerox sales training. I worked for Xerox. So it was like a 6-month program. It all boiled down to one thing. What problem are you trying to solve? So I would say to realtors, don't talk as much as you listen. You definitely want to present yourself, but your materials can do that. The key thing is to listen to what the client is experiencing pain about. And it's going to take more than one session, but they're going to feel that you actually care about what they're saying and that you're trying to solve a problem and that you are there to clarify options to solve. You have option A, B, and C, hopefully, where you can solve this problem for them. And that is the goal, and that it is their timing. It is their life. It is their lifestyle of choice. You are the vehicle to help them get that. And so clarifying for them and with them what the pain points are and what the solution looks like is the number one thing you have to do.
I really appreciate you saying that, because so many realtors get in the trap of showing up to say, I'm going to win this opportunity, this transaction, this moment by showing them everything that I do, all my accomplishments, everything that I have that's going to, basically say I can get this job done. And very few of them realize that if you just stop and ask questions about them and make them feel like you understand what they're really trying to accomplish and where they really want to go, then you can say in very few words, here's how I'm going to help you get there. That level of trust is something that so many people are looking for out of their realtors, but they don't find because they just want to show them what they can do.
Yeah.
So I love that you're approaching it from that angle and helping them find that path.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
I think it's my mission really to also help realtors become more trusted and respected, because I know a lot of really good people who are realtors. I have a lot of friends who care about their clients. And there's a misconception that we are just money hungry, status seeking individuals. And yes, great. I mean, I love a nice shoe. I love a great car. I love a great trip, all the things. Like, I'm not not inhuman. I love those things too. But at the base of it all is, what have I done to help people? And I think even a realtor just handing someone a book that says, this is about you. Take this part, go to part 4 if you don't want to read the rest, answer the questions, tell me what came up for you, and let's fix the problems.
Wow. So
That's great. You keep that focus on there. It can change everything. I think it's, it comes back to the life wheel, making sure that you're being filled in all these categories. And I think if realtors are getting this perception, it's because, sometimes we display that in a certain way because maybe we don't have our own life wheel figured out. And so I would also suggest to realtors, work on that life balance wheel. We used one in our business planning process.
Yeah.
It's an amazing tool to help you figure out, how do I want to operate my career? Because while we're trying to help these buyers and sellers achieve clarity, as a realtor and as their guide, you want to make sure you have clarity. Because Kim, I would ask you this too, how has you finding clarity in yourself and your mission helped you in your business and serving people?
Well, I think, first of all, just people who know me see me light up, when I'm talking about it. And when I'm like, oh, my client, this or that, and I don't divulge, their secrets or anything, but I'm happy when they win. Right. So, I think that's the biggest thing is just my personality has become enhanced and I'm working in my zone of genius. So that makes me happy. And then when I can help, I see people's potential and I see home's potential. And so when I can put those two together, it's like a win-win for everybody. And then it's I'm really excited about that. So I think it just gives me energy, to have, and also be able to help more than just the people I can help in Atlanta, to take these frameworks and talk about them on my podcast and other people's. I've had the best time talking with people like me on podcasts, other people who want to help others from their podcast. And so that's been really fun.
When we first started here, I said, what are you enjoying the most right now? And you're like, I enjoy sharing these frameworks. I enjoy sharing what this looks like. And so if there are any other takeaways, anything we've left on the table right now about this book, because I feel like just what we've talked about right here of helping people find, and you said, go to chapter 4. Are there any other things that you're like, if I could help people understand what they're going to get from the book, what they're going to get from my frameworks and from my methods, what would you want to tell everybody and what would you want to share, with the time that we have today?
Well, I think overall, I would just say the overall theme of the book is your home is a representation of you. And so if your home is lacking in any way or not aligned for the next stage of your life, it's going to hold you back. And so it does not have to be a move or a full remodel. It might be repurposing a room or clearing out some clutter that's weighing you down. Whatever small small thing you can do, or if your life is forcing a big move, this is a good structure for however small or however big change you're making, because life changes and we need some structure around that so that we can lower our anxiety levels and lower our remorse when we make a wrong decision.
Oh, Kim, I love that you took the time to write this book, and this framework fits very well with how I look at how people should be enjoying their homes. And if people want to reach out to you, find you, connect with you, I mean, obviously they can find your book that's now out for sale. What are the best ways for them to connect with you and to be part of your world?
So my website is Lifestyle Foundations with an S. So you can see about the book there. I'll be running workshops eventually. And on the socials, I'm Kim E. Costa. So I love to get on socials and just talk about what I'm doing. And and on my podcast, it's also Live in Your Wheelhouse. And I have a fun little thing on there where I do the Wheelhouse Hall of Fame. And it's someone who's like living, what was the last one? One of the last ones was Dolly Parton for the entertainment spoke. Because she built Dolly World and like she's a chapel at her home and all that stuff. So it's kind of fun. So I want ideas from people.
I love it.
I love that. And I want to highlight these workshops too, because we were talking before recording, like I've never seen a real estate consumer workshop that's focused on, I mean, yes, agents do buyer seller seminars and seller seminars and stuff like that, but I've never really seen like a workshop that's like, how do you help find who you are to fit the right home? We've seen real estate investing workshops and everything. So maybe those exist. I personally haven't come across them. So I'm really hopeful that that grows for you as well. So lifestylefoundations.com is the website. Live in Your Wheelhouse is the book. It's a blue book with a gold door knocker on the cover. Big fan of that cover. And thank you for letting us kind of
we got some insight
participate in the survey.
I was like, I like these
one,
guys. I'm going to send them. I mean, you were like really one of the first readers. Yeah.
Oh, super
and
fun.
it's been tweaked a little since I sent you like the rough copy. So it's a little more polished now.
All right. I love it. I love it.
Well, Kim, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on. I know you are on the podcast circuit right now, and I'm happy that we could have a little bit of your time for our world and our listeners and our people. And I love the journey that you're on right now. I love from the moment you started this of saying, not walking in alignment with who you are, finding yourself then in real estate, finding yourself now in this space of saying, I want to help more people find this space they can be in alignment. It is literally speaking Matt and my same language. And grateful for you in our world, grateful for the friendship that we've lightly started here. And I'm looking forward to a long-term friendship with you.
Yeah.
And Matt, thank you, sir. Thank you to all of our listeners, and appreciate everybody out there.
Yeah. We'll catch everybody on the next episode. And if you want to learn more about us, 10tenths.co, and you can find all about us there. So guys, have a great day. Kim, thanks again. Garrett, good to see you, my friend. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.